This is a Rogue Media Network podcast.
Do you ever have a story that you just can't get out of your head?
One that you play the details of over and over with your friends?
Well, you've come to the right place. I'm Claire.
And I'm Susan.
And this is Justice Pending,
a weekly true crime podcast where we discuss tantalizing crimes with more questions than answers.
Hey everyone, welcome back to another episode of Justice Pending. I'm Claire.
And I'm Susan, and today's case takes us deep into the mountains of Colorado and into one of the most puzzling and high-profile missing persons cases of the last 5 years.
This is the story of Suzanne Morphew, a mother of two who vanished on Mother's Day 2020, and whose disappearance launched a massive search effort, a troubled investigation, and a murder case that's been built, dismissed, and revived again.
With new forensic evidence and her remains finally found, a second indictment has been issued against the prime suspect, her husband, Barry Morphew.
But will it stick this time? Let's rewind.
Yeah, let's set the stage here. So Barry and Suzanne Morphew were high school sweethearts from small town Indiana. She was the homecoming queen. He was drafted by the Toronto Blue Jays. I mean, this is high school power couple, right?
Totally.
They both went to Purdue. They got married in 1994 and eventually moved to Colorado in 2018 with their two daughters, Macy and Mallory.
So they told friends that they wanted to be closer to Mallory, who was in college, but behind the scenes, things weren't so rosy. Suzanne was texting family about Barry's emotional and physical abuse just days before she disappeared.
On May 6, 2020, she sent him a chilling text that read, quote, "I'm done. I could care less what you're up to and have been for years. We just need to figure this out civilly."
4 days later, on Mother's Day, Suzanne is gone.
Yeah, that's eerie.
Yeah, so, the timing is so, in your face. This is red flag, you know?
It is. And it does start out so storybook, but we all know not every story has a happy ending. So let's go to May 10th, 2020. So we're moving ahead a couple days. Suzanne supposedly goes for a bike ride near the family's home, and by evening, she hasn't returned. So it's actually a neighbor who calls 911.
Yeah, and her bike is found down a ravine. Her helmet is discovered the next day, almost a mile away. And there's no blood, no crash site, and no signs of a struggle.
And inside Suzanne's Range Rover were her sunglasses, a hydration pack, her license, her credit cards, all untouched. Her phone, though, is missing. This is so reminiscent of Lauren DeMolo. Wow.
Right? It's like that idea that you just disappear, right? Everything that you have is left in its place and you're just removed.
Yeah, except the phone being missing is the what reminds me so much of it. And it's happening around the same time too. It's kind of creepy.
That's true. Yeah, 2020. I remember I was actually in Colorado on location recording for the very first season of Final Days on Earth and the Damien Hurd case.
Wow.
So it was 2020, right? Yeah. So I had road tripped to Colorado because there were no flights and hotels. Remember, hotels were closed? You couldn't even book a hotel room. Yeah. So, my husband and I drove to Colorado. We brought our camping gear and we camped out there.
Oh,
and so I could report.
You're scaring me with camping in the Colorado area.
Yeah, I know. But we actually came across all of these flyers for Suzanne Morphew. I have pictures, on my phone that I took at gas stations.
Wow.
They were plastered. They were plastered in downtown Gunnison, which is where, Damien Hurd disappeared from. And it was so desperate. It was a description of her. It was, please, if you have any information, call, there's a reward being offered. It was so sad. And, I remember just thinking, gosh, when are we going to get answers about, this woman and what happened to her? And her husband, Barry, actually initially suggested that she could have been attacked by a mountain lion,
Huh.
um, which was like just a really specific theory.
Yeah.
Um, you
I mean,
know,
were there a lot of mountain lions in the area? Is that a thing?
I mean, it's a thing in that, they are in Colorado, it's wildlife, but the evidence doesn't line up with that because there's not like torn clothing, there's not blood, there's
Oh,
not like
yeah. Yeah.
signs of an animal attack. Like these things don't happen in a vacuum. So investigators actually come out and say that they believe that the bike scene was staged, that she didn't leave her bike there, that someone put it there on purpose to mislead investigators.
Well, sure. I mean, how do we know she went for a bike ride at all? Because I mean,
Right.
it could have brought the whole thing. Yeah. I mean, how do we
And why
know?
is her helmet found a mile away? I mean, it's
Yeah.
very weird.
Very weird. So, of course, you always look at the husband.
Yep.
And in this case, Barry, her husband's behavior immediately drew attention. So he claims the last time he saw Suzanne was early that morning as he left for a landscaping job in Broomfield, which is about 150 miles away. That seems far, but maybe in
Yeah.
Colorado it's not.
Yeah, I mean, so he was taking this job in another city. He was going there, planning to stay in a hotel.
Yeah.
But interestingly, Susan,
Yes.
cell phone data shows that Barry's phone was pinging all over their property that afternoon.
Mm,
Um, so he wasn't on the road, when as he claimed. So this is another theory that comes out, another wildlife theory.
okay.
So first it was mountain lions got him. Now Barry says that the reason why his phone was pinging all over their property was that he was chasing chipmunks and shooting them.
Chipmunks. Now,
Yeah.
I have seen a number of chipmunks in my day. They're very
Yep.
tiny, and I would imagine difficult to shoot. So that to me just seems odd. But
I
this
agree.
this chipmunk alibi became infamous. But it actually wasn't the only strange detail. Investigators found a plastic cap from a syringe in their dryer. And they think it was possibly from a tranquilizer dart.
Yeah.
And they found a spy pen that Suzanne had hidden to capture private conversations. So this whole setup seems very odd.
Oh yeah. I mean, this is like out of a true crime novel, right? The idea that they're finding tranquilizer dart accoutrements
Yeah.
and a spy pen. Like this is a little over the top in terms of unusual evidence. Like whenever you go into the house where someone's disappeared from, you're expecting to find like laptops, iPads, things that are in most people's homes, but a tranquilizer dart, a spy pin. All right, my 9-year-old son has a spy pin, but
Okay,
I
look out, Claire.
I know, right? I don't think it's that normal for adults to keep them, right?
Agree.
So
And how, by the way, how do we know that it was Suzanne's? I mean, that would only have been told to investigators, right? Like
so
they're
I
saying,
think yeah, I think it was the conversations that were on it whenever they like
I see.
listened to them, they realized, oh, it's her conversations, like that she's recording. So the pin would eventually reveal that Suzanne was having a secret affair with a man named Jeff. Their relationship, according to texts, was loving and also very intense. They'd even talked about like running away together, moving to another country. Had a very hot and heavy relationship. They were actually like meeting up all over the country under the guise of, other reasons for these trips. And they had some pretty steamy text messages that have become public record. Always text like someone's going to read it in court one day, Susan.
Yeah, I believe me, I do. Listen,
Yep.
can't be too careful. So I still am having a little bit of an issue with the fact that she was using the spy pen to record her own conversations. Wouldn't that be damning if her husband Barry found it, or was she
I
recording
know.
it to hold something over Jeff? I mean, this just seems very odd.
I agree. I agree. But yeah, that's what the evidence shows. But it is strange.
Final Days on Earth with Claire Sanamaw is sponsored by BetterHelp. Did you know that workplace stress is now one of the top causes of declining mental health? Most of us can't simply wave goodbye to work, but we can start small and focus on our own wellness. Taking a vacation is great, but it isn't a long-term solution to stress. Don't forget that therapy can help you navigate whatever challenges the workday might bring. Learn positive coping skills, how to identify your own triggers, and the importance of setting boundaries. BetterHelp has served over 5 million people globally, and the client reviews show how well it works, with a 4.9 out of 5 rating based on over 1.7 million reviews. As the largest online therapy provider in the world, BetterHelp can provide access to mental health professionals with a diverse variety of expertise. Unwind from work with BetterHelp. Our listeners get 10% off their first month at betterhelp.com/finaldays. That's BetterHelp, HELP.com/finaldays. Missing out on a show that everyone is talking about isn't an option for me. I'm constantly signing up for this streaming service or that one, and then a few months later, I realize I've still been paying for the service long after I finished the show. Getting Rocket Money was a game changer for me. They'll find your unwanted subscriptions and even help you cancel them, so you never have to worry about them slipping through the cracks again. Rocket Money is a personal finance app that helps find and cancel your unwanted subscriptions, monitors your spending, and helps lower your bills so you can grow your savings. Rocket Money will even try to negotiate lower bills for you. They automatically scan your bills to find opportunities to save, then you can ask them to negotiate for you. They'll deal with customer service, so you don't have to. Rocket Money has over 5 million users and has saved a total of $500 million in canceled subscriptions, saving members up to $740 a year when using all of the app's premium features. Cancel your unwanted subscriptions and reach your financial goals faster with Rocket Money. Go to rocketmoney.com/finaldays today. That's rocketmoney.com/finaldays. rocketmoney.com/finaldays.
It is strange. Okay, so May 9th. So let's go back one day, the day before Suzanne vanished. She and Jeff exchanged 59 messages. That's a busy day.
Yeah.
And that afternoon, Barry, who she's married to, texted
Right.
that he was headed home. Very normal husband wife, I guess, text.
Mhm.
But Suzanne didn't respond to that one.
Yeah. So soon after that text, Barry's phone starts pinging erratically. This is, from investigators' reports. So
Mhm.
they're wondering after he got home, his phone's moving all over the place. Then it goes into airplane mode for nearly 8 hours from
Hmm.
2:47 p.m. to 10:17 p.m. So this is, one of those things that a lot of times criminals think, well, with my phone, I can eliminate being tracked by turning it off. But actually, what that does is it creates this really unusual activity in that your phone went into airplane mode or was turned off for a lengthy period of time. And lo and behold, that's the time when the crime occurred. Suddenly that's almost as suspicious as, the phone pinging from, the body dump site or, something like that. But it is noted that his phone was turned off for that 8-hour period. And it's not like it's overnight. Some people might put their phone on airplane mode to sleep, but this is a strange time right after he said he was headed home. So, they also have another way in these modern times to track people, not just your cell phone, but also your vehicle. So if you've bought a vehicle anytime in like the last, gosh, probably 5-10 years,
Mhm.
it has a computer inside of it and it can tell people what you were doing when you were doing it, where you were. And so Barry's truck records that he's backing up toward the house around 9:30 p.m. with his cell phone turned in airplane mode and backing up 96 feet toward a house. And so that's a really long distance. And investigators have hypothesized that he could have been loading Suzanne's body into his truck at that time.
Wow. I mean,
Yeah.
I guess he thought he was being clever, whatever he was loading or whatever he was doing. But
Yeah.
that does seem that's going to raise a few eyebrows there.
And this is after the alleged chipmunk hunt, right?
Right.
Yeah.
Right.
So
right.
what else, could you be hunting
By the
around your
way,
house? Yeah.
I mean, chipmunk, like the moment you fire that first thing, aren't all the chipmunks going to scatter? I mean, this whole thing doesn't make sense.
I don't have any chipmunk hunting anecdotes to share, but I will say that in Texas and Louisiana, where my people are from, they do hunt squirrels. Not for meat, but because they're a nuisance, because they're pests.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It just seems like one shot and you might have handled it for a minute or so, not, But okay, so that's odd. And that's something, red flag. So again, more red flags the next morning, which happens to be Mother's Day. This is when Barry claims that he leaves around 5 a.m. for Broomfield, which remember is 150 miles away. But back to your vehicle computer data, that shows that the truck doors opened around 3:30 a.m. And for 4 hours between 4 and 8 a.m., there's a gap in the vehicle's movement data.
So what happened in those 4 hours? We don't know for sure. It's more unusual activity. So Barry later told investigators that he saw an elk and took a detour. God, in wildlife, it just keeps coming up, right?
Yeah.
But what's interesting about this is whenever he told them, where he took this detour, it happens to be nearby where Suzanne's helmet was found, that bike helmet.
Oh, interesting. So Barry does, by the way, arrive in Broomfield. So he does make the journey, I guess with this detour for some more wildlife. But surveillance video does capture him throwing things away in 5 different trash locations. There's a bus stop, a McDonald's, a hotel dumpster, a men's warehouse, a suit store.
Yep.
And again, back at his hotel.
So this is very strange, right? Barry seems to have an answer for everything, and he says he was just being cheap and not wanting to pay to dump things at a landfill. But the idea that he would go 5 different places, it's created a lot of curiosity, and investigators rightly, I think, suspect that there's more to that story, and it doesn't take, Sherlock Holmes to put it together that he could be discarding evidence. It's actually, very effective way to get rid of evidence is to spread it across multiple dumpsters, which are going to probably be taken away to various landfills before they can be searched. So that is definitely an interesting activity to be partaking in while,
on the
road. On the road, right? While we know that Suzanne's missing.
Yeah. I mean, so meanwhile, remember, that's the same day that allegedly Suzanne goes out for this bike ride.
Right.
Doesn't come home, Barry's away 150 miles in this hotel, dumping things along the way. And Suzanne's daughters are trying to reach her. I mean, normal, right? Like, Where's mom? Calling mom. And Barry calls a neighbor and asks the neighbor to check on Suzanne because she's not answering. So when she can't be found, Barry then asks the neighbor to call 911. Like, he doesn't call 911.
Right. Yeah. So that's where that initial call comes in. And back at the hotel, Barry staying in a hotel room for this business trip, and the hotel staff noted that his room had a strong smell of bleach.
Mm,
Um, Now that's interesting.
mm.
Of course, the hotel did have an indoor pool nearby, and the room was located near that pool, and so some some speculation, that makes for a non nefarious explanation would be, well, it's just from the indoor pool. But to this day, the source of that bleach smell remains disputed.
Yeah, I think all of these things in totality really alarm investigators. So almost a year later, though, in May, 2021, Barry Morphew is arrested and charged with murder, the murder of his wife, also charged with tampering with evidence and attempting to influence a public servant. That's interesting.
Yeah, so he was arrested and charged with this murder, but there is no body at this point.
Yeah, that's. I
Um
remember this being the thing, right? How do you?
yes.
Yeah.
Yeah. And some jurisdictions will try, attempt to try a murder without a body, but it's a very difficult undertaking. And I think, they had a good bit of evidence. They had all this digital data, they had tons of text messages, they had, the vehicle data, this tranquilizer cap,
Mm.
by the way, which had Suzanne's DNA on it. Not Barry's,
Suzanne's
Suzanne's.
DNA. Huh.
Yeah. Yeah. So that's interesting.
That is.
And then Barry also had scratches on his arms. Now,
Hmm.
remember, he works like in landscaping and outdoors, and
Yeah.
so, but still, so there's no body, there's no murder weapon. But there was a new twist. Why don't we talk about the DNA that was found in Suzanne's vehicle?
Yes. So, plot twist DNA. Of course, they're combing her Range Rover. And there was DNA found in the Range Rover's glove box that didn't match Barry, didn't match her, Jeff, who she's having an affair with.
Right.
It did match an unknown male connected to 3 unsolved sexual assaults.
Yeah,
So,
this is
yeah.
crazy. So inside her car, there's this unknown male DNA. It's a partial DNA profile. But suddenly the someone else did it theory is getting new life. So this profile had been developed in sexual assault cases in Chicago, Phoenix, and Tempe, Arizona. So this is really a wild card, showing that, there's another suspect and he's like a really bad dude and he's a huge question mark. Like no one knows who he is. His DNA just keeps showing up in these cases and it's been, flagged. And so even though they don't have an identification, they have it as involved in all these different cases.
Yeah, I
Um,
mean, it's certainly something to consider. I mean, I don't know. I kind of look at not benefit of the doubt, that's not the right term, but like, what if she had her car washed and the dude happened to work at that car wash and was doing the
oh,
interior cleaning? There's other
yes.
explanations, and I understand that you want to, look at all the possibilities, but I just think that's very convenient.
Yeah, I agree. I agree. It's something that of course the defense jumped all over and the prosecution failed to hand over this key evidence to the defense.
Oh,
So
so that's not.
this is really bad behavior and it ends up, the judge sanctions them and 14 of their expert witnesses, for the prosecution were barred from testifying as a result. So this is a huge development in the trial.
No, yeah, that seems like, I mean, Barry must have been just, wiping the sweat from his forehead and,
Yeah.
rightfully so, but his charges were dropped without prejudice in April
Yes.
2022. But that really just meant that they could refile if more evidence came to light. So it was he wasn't totally off the hook.
Right, right. So we should also point out that their daughters, Mallory and Macy, have stood by their dad, Barry, through all of this. So they, came out arm in arm of the courthouse. God, it's such a tragic story all the way around. But,
Mm.
for this period of time, the charges were dropped. He was free. They were continuing to investigate, of course. And then, a huge breakthrough in September 2023. So this is 3 years after Suzanne vanished. Her remains were discovered in a shallow, clandestine grave near Moffett, Colorado.
Wow. Now, Moffett, Colorado, to put this in perspective, is about 40 miles south of the Morphew home. And here's the real kicker. Forensics revealed her bones were significantly bleached, suggesting she'd been moved at least once, maybe twice.
Yeah, that's really hard to imagine. And it's so unusual. Like, usually, if a body is dumped, maybe the killer goes back, but they don't move it.
Yeah, that's
This whole case is just extra, right?
Mhm.
Um, so they were able to do some tests to her remains, and in her bone marrow, they actually found a tranquilizer compound that's called BAM, BAM, and it's made up of three chemicals, and it's used by wildlife hunters to sedate large animals.
Huh.
Yeah. So remember that tranquilizer cap?
Oh, I do.
Yeah, with her
Sure do.
DNA on it. So
Sure
it's
do.
all starting to add up.
Yep.
And get this. So if you get these type of tranquilizers, there's records. You have to have a prescription, to be able to buy it. And the only private citizen in that part of Colorado with a prescription for BAM, Barry Morphew.
There it is.
Yeah. And I mean, here we go, right? He's going to have his reasons for this because he's a wildlife guy. He's hunting elk. He's, doing things where he would have access to this tranquilizer, and he has a prescription, which is, what's legally required. But I think we see the writing on the wall even more clearly now.
Yeah. And so did investigators. So very recently, Barry
Yes.
Morphew was rearrested. This time he's found in Arizona, and he's charged again with Suzanne's murder based on the new forensic findings.
Yes. So he's currently being held on a $3 million cash bond. His attorney says the case hasn't changed and that Barry maintains his innocence.
Of course he does.
Yeah. And he was living in Arizona. He was like using a different name. He was having, a pretty big separation from his former life
Well,
when he was brought in. Yeah.
I mean, why not? My
Yeah.
God. But Suzanne has a sister, and she says she supports the refiled charges now that Suzanne had been found. I mean, it is interesting that the family had stuck by him previously, but it's sort of hard to ignore this time around.
Oh,
Like,
yeah.
there's a body, there's forensic evidence, there's a much clearer picture of what may have happened. You have all of this evidence now piling up.
Yes. So the road ahead is still long. Barry hasn't gone to trial yet. And we know the defense is going to challenge everything. From the DNA evidence to, the validity of this bone marrow test that they did on Suzanne's remains. So it'll definitely be a legal battle ahead.
Yeah, and this time there isn't any confusion of she just ran away with Jeff. There is
Right.
her body. There's no missing person.
We
her-
should point out that Jeff had an alibi.
Oh yeah, we said.
Yeah, he was in another state. He was with his family. This was verified that he was nowhere near, Suzanne when she disappeared. So, yeah.
But yeah, I think, this story's certainly not over.
No. And will, Suzanne get justice here? That we don't know because, Barry Morphew was able to slip out of these charges once.
Yeah.
So you wonder, what's going to happen and what is a jury going to decide? This is definitely a new chapter for Suzanne Morphew.
Yeah. And will he be tried he'll be tried in Colorado, not Arizona, right?
Correct. Yeah, it'll be Colorado. I don't know if they're going to do a change of venue or what, but even if that were to happen, it would just go to another county in Colorado. Yeah.
Wow. Wow. Yeah. I mean, it certainly is a known case there. So probably difficult
Right.
to find someone who hasn't been following this.
Yes. Yes.
Yeah. Well, I mean, we're going to stay tuned on this one. And this is a perfect justice pending case, honestly, because this is truly justice currently pending. Very recent case here. So, thank you for listening to this. We are going to keep you updated. And if you have a case that keeps you up at night, that you've always wondered what happened, that you think is totally, waiting for justice to happen, you can go on our website and leave us a note at justicepending.com.
That's right. We get so many great tips on cases from our listeners. So we appreciate each and every one, and we read everyone. So we'll be keeping track of Barry Morphew's court proceedings, and we'll update you with any new developments. But until then, stay curious, stay compassionate, and stay tuned.
Justice Pending is recorded in Dallas, Texas for Rebel Studios. It's hosted by me, Claire Sanama, and Susan Passoni. Our theme music is Bending Truth, licensed at premiumbeat.com. We appreciate all listener feedback. Leave a review wherever you're listening right now, and we might read it on the air. Thanks for joining us.